What is going on, good people? Welcome back once again to All Pucked Up, brought to you by MyGarageBar.com and, of course, Disruption Network. Oh, hold on here. Wait till I try to change this microphone. Okay, there we go. That's better? That's better. Live and on air. We're flying by the seat of our pants today. You know that, right? Everything's been going against us. I was late. Scott was late. Z was late. The studio was locked. The only one that was here actually on time was Yoshi. And,
That's right.
And
then we had technical difficulties. We tried to get on. So.
Yeah, and then once I found out that he was early, he asked if he could leave and go get like a cup of coffee or something. I'm kidding. No, that didn't happen. Wow, that was a tank of a joke, huh?
Yeah, that was
Holy
pretty.
man.
Yeah,
that was not good.
Rough crowd. It's just a rough crowd today. So, guys, let me introduce you first of all because that's what we do around here. And there's my lovely peoples. Yosh, what's happening, man?
Not much.
Doing your thing?
Yep, as always.
I was told that we're not supposed to give personal stories today.
Oh,
well, that only applies to me.
Oh, all right. So, what did you do this weekend, man?
let me spin you a long, drawn out yarn about my my week.
Okay.
No, not much.
Nothing, huh?
No, just band practice and work. That was about it.
Ooh, and we should mention that the Animals Endgame, I don't even know the name of my own show. It's coming up December 27th at 12 North Sports Bar.
That's right.
In Marcy, New York. And you guys are jumping back in.
Yeah, Autumn Fire. Yeah.
That was Z, by the way, for anybody out there wondering, like, that's not like the hot water pipes.
That was It wasn't a cat getting run over or anything.
There's been a terrible accident. We got to cut the show short. So, yeah, we're super excited about that.
Yeah, so are we.
Yeah, man.
Been
you
a long time.
And Ryan Park coming all the way out from
Colorado.
To do this show, man. That's incredible. You guys, what is this, 10 years? 12, 11 years? I think it's 11 years. You didn't do the very first one.
We didn't do the very first one.
Yeah.
And we didn't play last year.
That's right. So 10 years.
10
You're
years.
tenured after this. That's great, man.
Yeah.
But wow, awesome. Thank you guys so much. Can't wait for that show.
Yeah, no, me either.
Scott Kinville. Don't talk too much.
You know what? I know nobody wants to hear my personal life story, so I just got one little thing I want to throw in because it was a really good Saturday, guys. And you want to know why? You want to know why?
Why?
I do.
LA Kings 4, Vegas Golden Knights 3.
Oh.
We took down our arch rivals, at least in my mind.
In my mind, it happened, so.
I'm good to go.
So why are we not telling personal stories today?
I don't know. Apparently mine are boring.
Is that what it is?
I can't help it. I live a boring life. What do you want from me?
I thought you were an exciting cat, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
From
that.
the moment I met you, I said,
You make me feel so much better. Yeah.
There's a guy that knows how to live.
Yeah. I live right on the edge. Right on the edge of my couch.
Hey, I'm right with you. So, look at Travis already chiming in. What's up, Mother Truckers? He called us.
Hey,
Mother Truckers.
Travis, when are you going to cook something for us and bring it down?
Yeah, I see all you stuff you're cooking, man.
Yeah.
Not feeling the love. You're not bringing anything down. It's rude. So
it's funny though. I did buy tickets for the Monday game for the Comets from Travis.
Oh, did you?
And I'm never allowed to buy tickets from him again because they really laid an egg. So, yeah, we made an agreement. I'm never buying tickets from Travis ever again. It was bad. So,
gotcha. Well, that's crazy, but yeah. Anyway, so today, obviously, as we've all talked about, we're going to do the Hall of Fame show.
That's right.
This they just announced the Hall of Fame. Or I shouldn't say they just announced. They've announced them a while. This is the
ceremony's tonight.
The ceremony, yeah. But so as they're doing that, we're doing our little tribute show. What do you call it?
Well, I think this is our what could be show.
What could be show?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're looking into the future. We're getting our all pucked up crystal ball out, and we're going to look into the future, and we're going to run some names by, and we're going to see who's going in and who isn't down the road.
Yes. Yeah. And these are guys, like we said, that are hanging right on the edge.
Yeah.
Maybe they make it in the hall, but maybe they make it into the
Hall of Very Good.
Hall of Very Good is exactly what we call it. The Hall of Very Good. Oh, my God. Before we do that, we should give a little tip of the hat here to some of the people that are actually going into the hall this week. And, yeah, I always like to look at these. Some of these I've heard of, and others, I'll be honest, I have not. Haley Wickenheiser. And I was looking at the stats on her. One of women's hockey's biggest stars, and Yeah, she started competing in 1994 at the age of 15 and competed in 9 world championships and 5 Olympic games before retiring in 2017. 67 games played, 49 goals, 70 assists, 119 points, 4 Olympic gold medals, 1 silver, 7 world championship golds, and 6 silvers. That is
A tremendous international career.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, it's players like her that really, it's almost irritating to the point where the NHL doesn't throw its weight behind putting a women's league together.
Yeah.
Really.
They're missing the ball. They keep talking about hashtag grow the game. Well, here you have a complete market that's just, maybe market is the wrong word to use, but I mean, there's this whole segment that's waiting to explode. Women's hockey is getting bigger and bigger every day.
Right.
And I feel bad for them because once they're done with their international career or the Olympics and the World Championships and all that, and after college,
That's it.
there's nothing.
Yeah, if you don't make the USA team
Yeah.
in college, you're done. Your hockey career is done. All that time you invested since
Yeah.
you were 6 years old up through college.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll go get a regular career now.
I normally don't like to compare the NHL to the NBA, but do what the NBA did as far as like the WNBA.
Yeah.
You could sponsor. I mean, I think we almost have a whole segment coming up we could make out of this.
I smell a show.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But
But that's the funny thing too. I mean, even coverage of women's sports. Like I said,
yeah.
I'll be honest. I have not seen a lot of her play.
No.
And because unless you're watching the Olympics, you probably missed most of it.
Right.
Yep.
We've talked about this to end on the show anyways, that the NHL has made it very difficult in a lot of ways to tap into their product.
Sure. They absolutely have.
I mean, they don't have really. Unless
Well, and you know what, too?
Game of the week. That's about it. Unless you buy the package.
Right. And don't tell me there's not airtime available. They run on the fly 10 times in a row during the day.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
NHL Tonight runs about three times in a row.
Yeah.
So don't tell me there isn't airtime available for that type of, for a women's hockey league.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And I mean, and like we've talked about too, the programming on other networks too. There is room there too.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, and she went on,
Especially with the ESPN Plus platform too.
Yes.
Yeah.
I forget about that. Sorry.
she actually went on. I was reading about it after she retired, which is always very weird when you think about it. Like 15 years I'm retired.
Yeah.
It's so weird. She is now the assistant director of player development for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So
nice.
She's, studying medicine at University of Calgary. So good on her, man. I mean, that's outstanding. Very worthy inductee.
Absolutely.
Guy Carbonell. You guys don't seem excited about that, but I was. I remember.
Guy Carbonell broke my heart in 1993, along with the rest of the Montreal Canadiens. Okay.
Oh.
Beating the Kings in the Stanley Cup final. Do we really need to get into the illegal stick bit again?
I guess
you don't want to get me going on that again, do you?
I guess I should have thought that out before, but
but it's better than hearing Patrick Roy. We knew that both Robitaille and McSorley had illegal sticks. We were just waiting for the right time to use it. It was that stupid laugh at the end. Shut up, Patrick.
Let me see what he's got. Over 1,300 games. He's got 260 goals, 403 for assists, 663 points, 3 Stanley Cups, and 3 Selkies. Obviously, as it's kind of alludes to in here, he wasn't really like an offensive threat so much.
No,
but he was a staple.
Well, he built on what Bob Gainey had started.
Yes,
really.
Absolutely. Yep.
And if you remember back then in the 80s and the 90s, they used to have what was called shadows, where it was a forward that would follow the other team's best offensive player around.
Right.
And he kind of built on, like I said, what Bob Gainey started with that whole shadowing thing, and kind of turned it into more and more of an offensive threat as well. So, I mean, good on him. He's well deserving to get in, and I think it also paves the way for other players to get in that were more his style of play rather than just a high flying offensive player and didn't was allergic to the other end. So
I got this massive allergy. I can't go down there.
I can't go near my defensive zone. It makes me itch.
Sergei Zubov. Obviously, everybody remembers that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember him well. 1,068 games played, 152 goals, 619 assists, 771 points, 2 cups, and 3 All-Star games. He made a round there, man. And, you remember him.
Oh, yeah,
well.
94 Cup team for the Rangers.
Absolutely.
And then they traded him the next season.
Thanks
The beginning of the end.
See ya.
Yeah.
He was an under the radar guy for me too.
Yeah.
When I'm like Zubov, and then you look at the numbers like, Oh, yeah.
Well, it's a thing you just don't hear much about defensemen when you think
Right.
fame bids. I mean, the guy never won a Norris Trophy, even though he got votes for it 12 out of his 16 seasons.
Yeah. Our next guy, obviously, I have problems with all these names, and this is going to be a worse massacre than like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. How do you say his name? It's Vaclav Nedomatsky?
They just called him Ned.
Ned.
So let's just stick with Ned.
I like Ned. Ned works for me. Ned, let's see, 673 games, 257 goals. I mean, same thing. Olympic medals, 1 silver, 1 bronze, world championships of gold, 5 silvers, 3 bronze. I mean, he's the same thing. These guys are all very worthy of getting in.
Well, with Ned, it wasn't so much what he did on the NHL or North American ice. It was the fact that he was the first player from the Eastern Bloc countries to actually defect and come to North America.
Yeah.
He was from Czechoslovakia, which at the time was behind the Iron Curtain. If and a little history lesson for everybody behind, with that too. But he was the first one to come over here, and that started to pave the way for Eastern Europeans to kind of slowly but surely start making their way over to North America. Yeah. So he took a tremendous risk because back then people take it for granted. Oh, he's just coming over from Russia. Oh, he's just coming over from the Czech Republic. Well, back then, if you got caught, you could be thrown in prison for the rest of your life.
Yeah, sure.
So that was a huge chance he took, and good on Ned. Welcome to the Hall.
Let me buzz through a couple more of these because we got to get going here. But Jerry York, coach on this, and I'm looking at his
50 years,
1,072 wins in his 47 years coaching.
Wow.
And 5 national championships. That is a pant load, as they say. A pant load. And so
I think he's still coaching too, isn't he?
Is he? Yeah, he's still coaching. Good Lord Almighty. That's outstanding. Gives me hope that maybe I do have a future in something. I don't know. If somebody can do something for 47 years, God Almighty, I can do it for more than
Maybe we'll be doing this show for 47 years.
with no teeth and just gum in my I don't know who these guys are. I don't know who I am. And of course, the last inductee here, my boy Jim Rutherford, and I won't make a big deal out of him. I mean, he's only 3 cups. It's 2016 GM of the year, general manager for the Steelers or for the Penguins rather.
Well, I will say with both Rutherford and York, they're both deserving. It's just the same way how I felt with Bettman going in last year. Wait until they're done and they're retired. I don't like that with guys going in while they're still active.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that should be something you wait, but
I would agree with you. And actually, I don't know. I was a little shocked that I didn't realize that Rutherford was going in this year until I actually read it on here, and I was like, "Wow, wait a minute! Did we lose him? What the hell's going on?" And then I was like, "No, he's still there. Oh, that's right. We can put players or coaches or whatever in while they're still going." So that is very weird. But hey, I'm not going to argue. I like Jim.
Hey,
he's my personal friend. Me and Jim, we hang out.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Not really.
Call him up, have him on the show sometime.
Yeah.
Don't worry, he'll look even better when Crosby comes back in a few weeks.
Oh, God.
Sorry.
6.
Sorry.
Too soon.
Six
Too
weeks.
soon.
Sorry.
Way too soon. Yeah, I feel like I've had a constant stream of tears rolling down my face since I found out about that hernia injury. 6 weeks.
6
minimum,
weeks.
6 weeks, minimum 6 weeks. Didn't the Rangers beat Pittsburgh last week?
Without him, yeah.
They did.
What team? Because there's very little team left over in Pittsburgh anymore, right? I mean,
Well, they woke up for Toronto.
that is true.
Did you see that?
How the hell did that happen?
Well, did you see with that what was it? What they call memes or gifs or whatever?
Yeah.
With that one, Pittsburgh's up 6-1, and this guy sitting, I think it was with his girlfriend in Toronto, and they're all decked out in their Leaf stuff, and she's trying to take the picture, the selfie. Oh, let's do the smile and all that, and like I said, it's 6-1. Toronto's getting smoked, so he does the whole. And then as soon as it's over, and the camera, I don't even think he knew the camera's like watching this the whole time.
Right.
It's hilarious.
Seriously though, man, Crosby, Letang, Hornquist, just who's there besides Malkin?
I mean, my question is,
Gensel?
when is Chris Letang not out?
He's always
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's always out.
That's tradition every year.
Lower body
Body injury.
Let's go. Let's get into this because we gotta hustle along here. But the whole topic of today, like we were saying earlier, we're going to give you a bunch of players. We've come up with this list of players that are kind of on the bubble of where we see maybe they get in someday in the future, maybe they do not. And what we did is we had a little bit of criteria because we got to put something in there. Everybody knows, first of all, that the guys like a Crosby, guys like Ovechkin. Patrick Kane.
Givens.
They're all
going to
gonna
be
get
in there.
in.
Yeah.
Carey Price. They're going to get in.
Well, we got Carey Price on our list, actually.
Do we have Carey Price?
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, and you'll see why in a little bit.
Yeah?
At least I put him down on mine.
I thought
sorry.
it was a
Go
two-win.
ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Anyways, but that's the whole thing. We know those guys are gonna go in. Let's not waste people's time with those. But let's talk about some of these other guys that perchance have a shot at someday. And the other thing was they have to have played in the league for a minimum of 12 years, because there's a lot of guys.
Right.
That we could speculate right now. Oh yeah, I mean they're doing great. In their
I think Connor McDavid's going to get in.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
He's done great in his first 5 seasons. Well, or however long he's been in. I mean,
right.
A lot can change in a very quick minute. So,
Exactly.
So you never know. But we'll do that. 12 years minimum, and ones that are not a given.
And there's one other thing I want to throw in, too. There's going to be some names that you're not going to hear because we like to be different here on All Pucked Up. We don't want to copy everybody and follow the crowd.
Sure.
So with our show, it's the Hall of Fame show, and there has been talk about some of these players before. Mm-hmm. And here's some of the names that we've seen out there that we don't want to rehash or steal anybody else's material, okay? So you're not going to hear about Phil Kessel, Shea Weber, Marc-Andre Fleury, Brent Burns, Ilya Kovalchuk, Pekka Rinne, Ryan Suter, Justin Williams, or Claude Giroux. They've been covered ad nauseum. We're not going to do it. So
can't we just?
So when you're chiming in on comments, forget it. You're not going to hear those names out of us. Okay. So.
And everybody just breathed a sigh of relief.
What do you mean you're not going to talk about Ilya Kovalchuk? That's it. I'm turning the show off.
Well, let's go down the list here because we did compile a list of who we think might be there, and the first one was Max Pacioretty. I'll let you guys start out with this and tell me what you think. Why do you have him on the bubble?
Because he just doesn't scream Hall of Famer to me.
Okay.
There's no individual awards for him, for one thing. There's no Rocket Richards. I don't even think he's ever been in the running for the Hart Trophy. Okay, so let's go over his career numbers. He's got 714 games played. He scored 256 career goals, 252 assists for a total of 508 points. Now, he's got, 13 years in the league.
Yeah.
That's good.
Oh, yeah.
It's a hell of a lot better than I could ever do. Yeah.
You're setting the bar real low.
A real fun game of limbo there, right? But that's not Hall of Fame to me. That just isn't. Never had a 50-goal season. He's been a good, consistent player, but I just don't see him standing on that stage. And at this point in his career, I don't see where he's going to be able to take off even further. I mean, he's in a very good situation in Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
But let's face it, I think he's pretty much starting to get past his prime.
Yeah. Oh,
so
past his prime, I think.
Yeah.
So you agree with that then?
Yeah.
The Hall of Very Good has an inductee, and it's going to be
the Hall of Mediocrity.
Are we officially starting this?
We should. It'd be like the Hall of Justice from Super Friends. Remember?
You're not going to Toronto. You're going to Utica.
Yeah.
I think the only thing Patches really does have going for him is he is a good locker room guy. He's a good leader to have on a team, but he's not any kind of superstar. In my opinion, okay. If he gets in, it'll be like a late vote by the committee and go, well, we need somebody else. We got to throw somebody else.
Got to fill a spot.
We got to fill a spot.
We got to spot you in.
Yeah,
it's like we're going to a game. We got an extra seat. You want in? You driving? You driving? We'll put you in.
He may make the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame someday.
Yeah, he could.
What about the other one on the list, Nick Backstrom? Nick
Backstrom. Now that's a little more interesting.
A little tastier for you?
Little more interesting.
Okay.
The career stats. Let's just throw that out there to start with. 917 career games played, 235 goals, 655 assists for a total of 890 points. That gets us a little bit closer.
I
think with Backstrom, he's going to have to put together a couple more seasons of that. And with him becoming a free agent at the end of this season, depends on where he ends up as to whether he's going to do that. Now, does he re-sign in Washington and stick with his running mate, Ovi, who he's got a lot of assists because of?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, too.
So, another one I'm not completely sold on yet. Now, this is one that could change. It could change. If he can put together a couple more solid seasons, he's going to break that 1,000-point barrier.
Yep.
Okay, he's going to hit his 1,000 games played. He's never been a big goal scorer. He's always been the setup guy. So you can't really sit there and say, well, he doesn't even have 300 career goals. Well, that's not really his game. Okay. Again, this is another one who doesn't have any individual awards, has no Hart trophy, obviously no Art Ross or anything like that. Another good, solid player. But right now, for me, he's on the doorstep of the Hall of Very Good. But he's getting they're pointing at him over at the Hall of Fame. They're waving. They're like, "Come on, buddy."
They're directing.
You just got to keep going, But if he were to walk away today and say, "You know what, I'm done," well, then
Utica.
He's in the Hall of Very Good.
Hall of Mediocrity.
I think
Utica.
I think Backstrom's one of those guys that, like Scott said, look at his assist numbers. How many of those are just because he can pass the Ovi at the top of the circle and Ovi puts it in? I think being on a line with him kind of blows his stats up a little bit. So it'd be interesting to see if he doesn't re-sign in Washington and he goes somewhere else, if it makes him
if it kills his productivity.
Falls flat.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Eric Stahl. You're shaking your head.
Well, that's Eric Stahl got burned the Rangers got burned pretty bad by getting Eric Stahl at the end of that one season. He's a great face-off guy.
I actually hear Rangers Nation agreeing.
He'll be a great setup guy. He's going to lead us through the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Well, that didn't quite happen. But, Stahl's got, almost 1,200 games played.
Yeah.
423 goals, 565 assists, 988 points. He's got a cup with Carolina, the first year they were a team.
Right.
So I can see Eric Stahl getting in.
He might have the numbers.
Yeah, he could obviously he could very well break 1,000 points this season. So as long as he can stay healthy.
Yeah, I you know what? I say yes for Stahl. I don't think he's going to be a first ballot guy. He's going to be one of those guys that gets in because, like Yoshi just said, he's going to get over 1,000 points, and that's usually a pretty good indicator where they're going to start leaning.
Right.
And don't forget something. He got a lot of those points through some pretty lean years in Carolina, too, when that team stunk.
Yeah.
They were horrible.
That's very true.
And he led them. He's a great leader, too. Never complains, doesn't, make waves, anything like that. He does have the Stanley Cup to his credit. Again, no individual awards, but, I know I keep saying no individual awards, and that doesn't always mean everything. It doesn't.
No, but
it's a feather in their caps,
right?
No doubt.
Yeah.
But he's going to get to it. By the time he's done playing, he could end up with 1,100, depending on how much longer he plays. So I think, if you look at his entire body of work, from starting with the Cup, that was a great start for him, by the way.
Yeah.
But for what he was able to do during some pretty lean years in Carolina, I think you got to give him the nod.
Okay, all right. So far, we got one.
I think the door's opening.
We got one Toronto and two potential units.
Still a lot of hotel rooms available for that weekend in Toronto.
Zach Parise. What do you guys think?
No.
Nope.
No.
Tell us how you really think. I really want to.
Well, here's the numbers. 966 games played.
Yep.
Excuse me. He does have 367 career goals, which is pretty impressive. 388 assists for a total of 755 points. I don't know what it is. Zach Parise just doesn't scream Hall of Fame to me. Again, a very solid player, a very good player. Mm-hmm. He kind of got the onus put over him when he got handed that huge contract by Minnesota.
Yeah.
I think that kind of really drew a lot of unwanted attention to him, I want to say, or maybe unneeded. What's the word I'm looking for there?
Unnecessary?
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Again, a solid player, but he's also been known to disappear for quite lengthy periods of time, especially over the past couple seasons.
Yeah.
Zach Parise has done nothing for the Wild. And I understand he's getting towards the end of his career, but you can't just completely disappear for a while either.
True.
And I understand he's been injured. I get that. But
a lot.
Yeah. And I think that's going to handcuff him too when it comes right down to it. So for me, Parise, sorry. No. Nope. Hall of Very Good.
Yeah, I think being kind of trapped in Minnesota now in a team that's not great, it's really kind of hurting his stats. Plus, like we said with the injuries, he hasn't played a full season since 2011, 2012.
Right.
And I mean, you've got some seasons he only played, like 2017, 18. He only played 42 games that season. He played half the season. So I don't see Parise getting in.
So not great on a not great team.
Hall of mediocrity. For Parise.
Just screams the HOM. Voting for the HOM. Oh boy. Corey Perry.
Oh God.
I like Perry. I do. 1,002 games played, 374 goals, 406 assists, 780 points. He's a good forward, and he also gets a lot of hits and penalty minutes. I mean, if you're into fantasy hockey and you're in a bangers league, Perry's a guy you want to have on your team.
Sure.
I mean, he's got 1,060 career penalty minutes and 885 hits. So I mean,
those numbers. Yeah, why not?
I like Perry. Another guy that's kind of riddled with injuries, though. You never know if he's going to be there or not, and sometimes he shows up, and other times he's a ghost for weeks at a time. So maybe in a bubble he could get in.
He's
ish for me.
Ish. All right.
Well, he also does have a Hart Trophy and a Rocket Richard Trophy.
Yeah.
But no, I just emphatically said no to Zach Parise.
Mm-hmm.
Corey Perry's numbers aren't that much different overall for his career. He's got 374 goals compared to 367 for Parise. Okay, 406 assists in comparison with 388 assists for Parise. So what it's telling me is that Corey Perry had a couple outstanding years. The year he won the Hart Trophy, I mean, the guy was just unbelievable.
Right.
But if we're gonna say no to Zach Parise, me personally, Corey Perry's a no.
If you say no,
and I know everybody's like, oh yeah, real convenient. Kings fan go no to a career Anaheim Duck. Oh, how nice is that? But I'm just trying to look at it. I mean, Perry's got what, 40 more career games, right? So similar numbers to a guy that we just said, nah, you're not getting in. Regardless of a Hart Trophy or a Rocket Richard, anybody. I mean, I shouldn't say anybody. That's very poor choice of words. Players can have a couple great years.
Yeah.
But it doesn't define their entire career. At least it shouldn't for a Hall of Fame consideration. So Perry will probably get in on a year where they're trying to get somebody in there to basically put people on the stage, because hockey does tend to do that.
Yeah.
But for me personally, if I'm on that panel, it's a no.
Hater.
Well,
Kings hater.
Hey, sorry.
Typical.
That's our. Hey, when you're down at the bottom looking up, you got to take any swipe you can, right?
Jonathan Toews.
Captain Serious.
Captain Serious.
He's a yes for me.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 cups and a Messier trophy. I mean, his career stats are right there. I'd say yes on Toews, obviously.
Well, here's those stats. 893 games played, 331 career goals, 435 assists for 766 points. He does have 1 Selke trophy, and he also does have a Conn Smythe. I think and especially since he's actually picked his play up as he gets older, and if you extrapolate those numbers out, they're going to be Hall of Fame numbers, and there's no way on God's green earth that they're going to keep Jonathan Toews out.
No way.
There's no way.
Nope.
Not after they put him. Remember a few years ago when they had the NHL 100 celebration and the top 100 players of the NHL?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Who was on that list?
Absolutely.
Out of, all the players that have played in the NHL, excuse me, Jonathan Toews was on that list. So given that, and that was pretty much a league-run list.
Yeah.
You really think they're going to keep him out of the Hall of Fame? No. And to be honest with you, for what he helped build in Chicago, to turn that franchise around from mediocrity into being the powerhouse that they were, he's going to get in. There's no doubt.
All right.
He'll get my vote.
We're getting there. We got 2 more names on this list that I want to go to before we go to our quick break. Anze Kopitar. Let's ask you first, Yosh, since
well, I know. I think
since
I know.
I already know the answer.
What Scott's going to say. 1,023 games played, 319 goals, 591 assists, good for 910 points. I mean, he's got 2 cups, a Lady Bing trophy, 2 Lady Selkies. He's got to get in. That's obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, if unless the Kings can keep up their amazing play as of late,
You're on a roll.
I see no reason why Kopitar won't get in.
Yeah, the only thing that might hurt him was, these down years that the Kings are having. But he was a Hart Trophy finalist 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a group that includes Kopitar and Tays, and I'm sure you're going to get to Bergeron. I think
That's
you got
actually the next one on the list.
Okay.
Yeah.
To me, that's like the triumvirate for current centers that we're talking about that could make it in.
Yeah.
I think with those three, you can't have one without the two others. They're all very, very close, similar as far as career stats,
Numbers,
career achievements, really. So obviously, it's a yes for me for Kopitar. I don't really think there's any way that they're going to be able to keep him out either, especially if you're going to go with Tays. With his numbers, Kopitar's are right there as well.
Go with one, go with the other.
They've all pretty much got the same achievements. So
I guess might as well just include him in the conversation then. Bergeron, I mean,
didn't mean to jump the gun on you, but
you're right in there. I mean,
Bergeron is another one. He'll get in.
Yeah,
for sure.
The big three on our possibly mediocre list. These three are going to make it.
But what's funny is that amongst those three, Bergeron's probably going to end up with the least amount of points. Because the only thing with he's going to get it. There's no doubt. Yeah. It's too bad for Bergeron that he's been kind of bit by the injury bug too, because you really haven't seen exactly what he can do.
No,
that's really too bad. But there's no doubt, based on his career numbers, he's already got over 1,000 games in. He's got 1,047, 329 career goals, 503 assists, good for 832 points, 4 Selke trophies, and the cup. That's a no-brainer.
Gotcha.
That's a no-brainer.
And even as it stands right now, he's a point-per-game player. He's got 19 points in 19 games. I mean,
now
Boston's red hot this year anyway. But
with that said, though, and I'm not taking one bit away from Bergeron, phenomenal player. But I wonder what he would do without Marchand and Pastrnak on his wings, too.
It's true.
That I wonder. But that's regardless.
Yeah, I guess
you can't take that away from him.
Yeah,
that's not his fault.
Right. That's very true.
And I would never hold a vote against him for that reason.
No, no.
You can't blame somebody for the team they have around him.
Exactly.
So there's our forwards. We're probably like about 50-50 on this list, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So somewhere around there.
Just real quick? Did we mention Ryan Getzlaf? I don't think we did
not.
And he's the one that really is a leaner for me, too. Now, we said no to Corey Perry, but don't forget who his running mate was for all those years, right?
Yep.
It was Getzlaf. And now here's a guy, 1,005 career games played, 265 career goals, 668 assists for 937 points. He's going to break 1,000 points in his career.
Sure.
Hasn't gotten the individual nod like Corey Perry did that year. He got the Hart and all that, but he does have a cup.
Yep.
And I'm going to redeem myself here for Ducks fans, okay?
Oh, boy.
I would say Ryan Getzlaf gets in.
Oh, yeah. I can see Getzlaf.
So there.
Hold on.
Just so, hey, so you can't say that I'm completely biased against the Ducks, okay?
Hold on. Let me go outside and make some snowballs in the hell that just froze over out there. Craziness.
Sorry about that. I just had to throw that in. It was a redemption.
Hey, listen, we got to take a real quick break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do our defensive players and our goaltenders. Do you have trivia this week?
I do.
You do?
I do.
This guy, he's got it all.
Hey, it's breakaway trivia, so you guys know the rules with breakaway trivia. You're on a breakaway against me. I'm the goalie. To score the goal, you got to answer my question correctly. So here it is. In honor of our Hall of Fame show, everybody knows that the Hockey Hall of Fame is in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. What I want to know is where/is the original Hockey Hall of Fame? It wasn't in Toronto. The answer when we come back.
Boy, you got to stump me like that before we go to break. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. So, Scott, before the break here, you had some trivia for us. We had a couple minutes to try to talk this over, but hit us with that one more time.
You want that question one more time?
I do.
The question one more time in honor of Hall of Fame weekend here. Everybody knows that the Hockey Hall of Fame is in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. What I want to know is where/is the original Hockey Hall of Fame? What do you guys think?
I'm going to go with Montreal.
Yeah, we were saying the same thing. I mean, I don't know where else it could possibly be.
Kick save and a beauty. Nobody scores this week. It was in Kingston, Ontario, Canada.
Oh,
in 1943, the NHL decided that they needed a Hockey Hall of Fame. So they got behind the whole project, and it was decided to be in Kingston, Ontario. Well, in 1968, NHL president at the time, Clarence Campbell, they had a falling out with the group that was running it. So they decided, well, then we're going to move it to Toronto. And they did. And that building in Kingston, Ontario is actually still open. And they do have exhibits there.
Huh.
Yeah.
So it's open.
It is still open, and it's built as the original Hockey Hall of Fame.
See, I never knew that.
It's just not sanctioned by the NHL anymore.
Interesting.
Good to know.
Kingston.
Kingston.
Oh, hell with Kingston.
Hey, CKWS. So we all grew up on around here,
Oh, my
right?
God. Yeah,
really.
had I thought about
I was going to throw that out there, and I'm like, no, I don't want to give it away that easy. You know?
Oh, man. Now I feel dumb with that. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of an obvious thing.
Yeah.
The things we learn. Anyways, let's go back into it because we're already kind of running late on this show. We had such a late start.
Yeah.
But, so we're not really, I guess, that far over. But so we mentioned we're going to do the defensive and the defensive players and goaltenders that might be on our Hall of Mediocrity. Let's see who we got on our list here. First one up is Duncan Keith. Duncan Keith, as I lose my voice there. What do you guys think on this guy?
The hatchet.
Yeah?
The hatchet.
Burying him?
No. The hatchet, because he's been known to use his stick for
Okay.
nefarious purposes. But, anyways, career numbers 1,097 games played, 99 goals scored, 490 assists for 589 points. Now, I want to preface something here, too, just before I continue real quick. When we're talking about career numbers, we are not including playoff numbers.
True.
So everybody understands that. We kind of forgot to talk about that when we were doing the forwards. So anyways, 589 career points. He does have 2 Norris trophies, and he does have a Conn Smythe. Yes, on Duncan Keith, because they're not going to keep him out along, because you're going to put Tays in. Kane's a no-brainer.
Right.
And Keith was the other, holy grail.
The other piece of that puzzle.
Right.
Yeah.
So Keith's going to get in. Despite having kind of low point numbers, really, and the fact that he's really kind of disappeared over the past few years. So that could end up hurting him a little bit. But because of the team he played on, because of the 3 cups, because of all the, the hoopla that went along with the Blackhawks during this decade, he'll get in.
Let me ask you a question on that. Do you think when it comes down to the teams also, I mean, it
Sure does.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
It's more of like a redundant question.
Right. No, because
question.
do you think that if Duncan Keith put those numbers up with the Dallas Stars?
Nobody would give a rat's ass.
Exactly.
So there you go. Your lesson for the day is
there it is.
Play on a team like Chicago.
That's right.
Or something like that, and your chances.
If you're in an original 6 team, you got a lot better chance. So,
who else we got on here? Mike Green.
Mike Green.
Yosh, what do you think on Mike Green?
That's another one. I think it goes off the team he was on. He played with the Wings forever. I could see him getting in.
Yeah.
Just because being on the Red Wings.
I mean, actually, I'm going to be honest. I think a lot of these defensemen we're gonna talk about probably
because his numbers. I mean, his numbers aren't amazing. 848 games, 494 points.
Yeah.
For career stats, while it's not mind blowing, you got to remember too with defensemen is they're not going to be the big point skidders. If anything, you're going to see them have a ton of assists if they're going to be there. But I think with Mike Green, it's the same thing. Being on the Red Wings, I think that might help him kind of get his foot in the door. So maybe he's a maybe for me on the bubble. He might be just on the cusp.
Yeah, he spent a lot of time with the Capitals, too. No individual awards for Mike Green, and I think Mike Green's problem was we never really saw what his full potential was, too, because he's always hurt.
Always hurt.
Yeah.
So for me, we got another member of the Hall of Very Good. And it's too bad for him, but to me, there's nothing concrete that says this guy is a surefire Hall of Famer. I mean, the numbers are okay, pretty good. And if you extrapolate out, once again, we're going to use that word extrapolate, he would actually have more career numbers than Duncan Keith.
Yeah.
But he also doesn't have 3 cups. He doesn't have 2 Norrises, and he doesn't have a Conn Smythe. So with that kind of pedestrian numbers, you're going to kind of blend into the background. And if you're blending into the background, But a lot of people said that about Sergei Zubov, his whole career, too. Mm-hmm. So you never know. Maybe they're going to be in one of those years where they need to get people in. Maybe that's how Mike Green gets in. But if it comes right down to it,
maybe not.
No, he's a borderline guy, and I think right now he's waiting in the lobby.
Okay.
He's waiting in the admission line. You know, he's checking out the gift shop.
Oh God, hanging in the lobby, looking at the gift shop. Sorry, Mike, you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer. Keith Yandel.
But here, enjoy your complimentary Hall of Fame towel.
Keith Yandel.
You know, when we first brought him, yeah, I know, right? When we first, threw that name out there, I was like, oh man, really, Keith Yandel? But his numbers aren't that bad. 927 career games played, 96 goals, 450 assists for 546 points. I think he's going to be waiting in line with Mike Green, though, because he has nothing individual that stands out.
Okay.
Nothing, really. And I know Ranger fans don't like him, but
I didn't mind Yandel. I mean, other than his first season with the Rangers,
right?
I mean,
but, don't forget too, he played a lot of rough years with Arizona too, and they were just terrible.
Yeah. Yep.
So
I don't know if he can manage to win a cup before his career is over. I think hopefully with the Panthers. I could see maybe him getting in, but it's another one. Not a ton of numbers there. No individual awards for him. I think getting a cup might help him get in. For other individual awards too. So
you guys think that's
probably not?
That's a little bit more when you talk about defensemen. You got to have some kind of awards. Some hardware.
Yeah, there's got to be something that separates you.
Yeah,
because numbers aren't everything when it comes to defensemen. They really are. I know we were sitting here now. We just got done saying, "Oh, his career numbers." With defensemen, it's a little bit different than forwards because they're not counted on to score as much.
Right.
Okay, that really truly is a whole body of work kind of thing. But you take a guy like Keith Yandel, you take a guy like Mike Green, who's never really been known to be the shutdown defenseman either. They've always been kind of leaned on to be, okay, you're our power play one guy. I think what's going to happen with both of them is if they're in a year for the selection committee say, gee, we haven't put a defenseman in a while. Maybe we need to start balancing this out a little bit here.
Got to average out your numbers.
That's why I say, they're in line.
Yeah,
they're in line. It's just, are they going to make it in before closing time?
Yeah.
Oh boy, we got it. You guys gonna either break my heart here or make me very happy. Chris Letang.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe if he could get a full season in.
Oh.
I was gonna say he's on. He's going to the IR Hall of Fame.
Oh man,
that's what we could do someday. We could have the all IR list.
You just look at it. You look at his career. He's played one full 82 game season.
Yeah,
one. 2010, 2011.
He's part of the Holy Trinity.
Yeah, but that Holy Trinity is more like an obtuse angle though, because you got Crosby and then. No, there's no way for Lewis. I mean,
really, you people.
The career numbers aren't bad. I mean, 116 goals, 389 assists for 505 points.
Yeah,
and he's only played 762 games, but. Look at the teams he's played on, too. I mean, those are some high-octane offenses that he played on.
Sure.
In Pittsburgh, when was the last time they had a terrible team?
It's been a while. Yeah, they're
right? Yeah. I mean, so he really hasn't had to suffer with, oh, this team stunk, I got to carry him. And Letang, more than anybody, has that whole injury thing hanging over him. So you never really saw what he could truly do.
Yeah.
But you can't speculate on what he could have done either.
See, that's the crappy part too, and I guess this goes for all those guys. I mean, the injuries don't matter doesn't matter really how good you are. I know. You get that hanging over your head, and just ruins a career, man.
Right. I mean, it's too bad he couldn't have that 2 or 3 season stretch.
Yeah.
Where he stayed away from the injuries, was in the contention for the Norris. Maybe even picked one up. Right.
Yeah.
But sorry,
all right.
All very good.
Hall of okay. The injured reserve Hall of Fame.
Screw you guys. I'm going home.
He's in the Hall of Fame ER.
And our last defenseman on this list is Dustin Byfuglien. Big Buff.
I'm going to go ahead and straight off say no. Oh. And I think his antics this season are what's going to keep him from getting in the Hall of Fame.
Deciding that he wanted to take a break from potentially good for good.
Yeah. Just to decide, no, I think that's honestly what will keep him from going in.
Yeah, but I'm not as an emphatic no, but he is a no. Here's the numbers: 869 career games, 177 career goals, 348 career assists for 525 points. Now, after he was a part of that 2010 Cup-winning team in Chicago. After he left, though, let's keep in mind he went to Atlanta, which then became Winnipeg.
Yep.
So you're talking about a good 8 years of mediocrity. Those teams were just terrible.
Yeah.
Until Winnipeg finally started to turn the corner a couple of years ago. So I'll give him a little bit of leeway just for the teams that he was playing on to be able to put up the kind of numbers he did. Because let's not forget, I mean, nobody really knew who Bufflin was until Chicago won the Cup, right?
Yeah.
He had that dominant run. Remember that? And then all of a sudden he was able to cash in because they traded him, because they had to, and because they weren't going to be able to pay him. So good for him. He got his big contract.
I think.
But... I'm sorry. Go
no, go. I interrupted you.
But no, you're good. I mean, it's just no, because there's nothing. Again, there's nothing that separates him. There's nothing that says, "Hey, he was a Norris Trophy winner here. Hey, he was a Conn Smythe Trophy winner here."
Yeah.
There's just nothing that. And I don't even like to count all-star appearances because all-star appearances is just, especially with fan voting and all that, it's a popularity contest.
Yeah.
And, I mean, when John Scott can get voted into an all-star game.
I was just going to say John Scott.
You know who really, and just to sidebar just a little bit, and I know we're running low on time, you know who I bet you was the most angry about that of all of them?
About what? Scott getting in?
About John Scott getting in that year? Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Think about it. He was having an all-star caliber season. Only one Arizona Coyote went because the team was terrible.
Yeah.
And who went? John Scott.
John Scott.
So, sorry, OEL. But no, I'm Big Buff.
I think for Bufflin, sorry, Rich.
No, go ahead.
I think for Bufflin, he kind of falls. He's always seemed like that enforcer type of player, you know. I mean, you look at his career, he's got almost 1,100 penalty minutes. He's got almost 2,000 hits. And I think, and not to go off on a tangent about that too long, those types of players don't get into the Hall of Fame.
The enforcer.
You don't see the enforcers getting it. You don't see Ty Domi in the Hall of Fame. You don't see Probert in the Hall of Fame. Claude Lemieux. You don't see any of these guys making it. And I don't think it's fair, especially in where the league is changing a lot now, and you're seeing a lot less of those types of players in the league. I think there needs to be a place for them in the Hall of Fame because they protected the superstars you see.
Absolutely.
In the league. And I think maybe, their games played might keep them from getting in, and they're not getting the trophies. But they played a big part in keeping the superstars safe on the ice,
healthy and upright. Yeah.
When the game was a lot slower and a lot heavier hitting than it is now.
Yeah.
I just wish maybe like a side hall off our Hall of Mediocrity, just the Goon Hall of Fame.
It would be awesome if they set up like a display at the Hall of Fame for like Rock'em Sock'em Robots, and that could be there.
So Marty McSorley, maybe there's a shot for him.
But Marty McSorley was actually a good player, though. He actually, he was a goon, yes, but he actually had some talent.
Well,
playing with Wayne Gretzky all that time certainly helped.
Yeah, that boosts you.
Do you know why they're never going to put enforcers in the Hall of Fame? Because it's so polarizing in the league. That's why.
Yeah, they want that over there.
Personally, I think there's a place for it because, Yoshi, you're absolutely right. It keeps everybody honest. But there's always going to be that element, and it seems to be getting a louder and louder voice each year. Oh, fighting is terrible, especially now with the CTE lawsuits and all that. They're going ballistic about that.
Yeah.
So, but you're right. It would be nice to see kind of like a nod to those guys.
Yeah, before they're forgotten and lost in the tides of all the young superstars that are coming up now that are obviously going to make it into the Hall of Fame, I don't know. I think if Bufflin were to get into the Hall of Fame, it'd be in that kind of aspect. If they would just do like a week honoring these guys,
sure.
I think.
And you're absolutely right. They kind of history has forgotten about a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
Just you don't see the numbers, you don't see anything. They just kind of roll right over them.
Yeah, unless you're watching YouTube videos and they get really loud in the middle of the night.
Yeah, right.
These guys are referencing that I was watching fight videos last night and had to leave the room at 4:30 in the morning, and one of the videos came on and woke everybody up in the house, and it was screaming, "Ty Domi's attacking a fan!" Oh God. Let's do our goaltenders real quick, and I want to save like maybe 2 minutes at the very end. I want to actually kind of reference something with that Ty Domi video. Our goaltenders that we mentioned on here are Jonathan Quick, first of all. Jonathan Quick.
Okay, so I'll start this one off just because I want to give somebody else's career stats before I go into Quick.
Okay.
Now, I think we can all agree that Carey Price is pretty much a surefire Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
So here's Carey Price's career numbers. 640 games played. He's got a 2.47 goals against average. He's had 45 career shutouts. He's got 331 wins, a .918 save percentage. He's got 1 Hart Trophy, 1 Jennings Trophy, which goes to the goalie tandem, actually, with the lowest GAA for the season, and he's got 1 Vezina. Pretty impressive, right?
Yeah.
Here's Jonathan Quick's career numbers.
Oh, boy.
615 games played. He's got a 2.39 career goals against average, 314 wins, 51 career shutouts, a .913 save percentage. He's got 1 Conn Smythe and 2 Jennings trophies.
And 2 cups.
Now, if we can agree that Carey Price is a surefire Hall of Famer, that's about as close as you're going to get as far as comparables. Yeah. Now, I know, Jonathan Quick has been having a real hard time for the past 2 seasons, but let's face it, the Kings have been god-awful in front of him, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Terrible.
But
overall, for the overall body of work, and I know everybody says, "Oh, well, you're just a Kings fan, you're biased." Well, maybe so, but I don't think that you can keep Quick out of the Hall of Fame. There's no, especially with the way he kind of revolutionized the position. I mean, I don't know if revolutionize is the right word either, but because that whole butterfly was always, that was popularized by Patrick Waugh.
Yep.
But nobody can be Gumby like Quick. You know what I mean? I don't know how he hasn't been hurt more often, to be honest with you. I mean, he looks like Stretch Armstrong. But given his whole career body of work, Quick's a surefire Hall of Famer to me.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, if Quick's getting in, then obviously we left him off the list, but Lundqvist is a given.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's true. But I used Carey Price as that was the one we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And Lundqvist is going to get in. There's no doubt.
Oh yeah,
there's no doubt.
Unless you want a Vancouver style riot in New York.
Yeah. Oh my God, could you imagine that? Wow.
Rangers fans are attacking this. Devin Dubnyk is our other name on this list. Devin Dubnyk.
I think it's kind of a similar situation with Parise, where you're kind of stuck on a mediocre team now. I mean, Dubnyk can be great. When he's good, he's great.
Yeah.
And when he's not, he's not. I mean, he's got a Masterson trophy. No cups, though.
He's only got 239 career wins, too.
Yeah. His save percentage is better than Quick. Yeah. It's not by much, but it's a little bit better.
But he's also only played 504 games.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, for Dubnyk, it's gonna be on a bubble. I think if Minnesota can get back on track to being a playoff team and a cup team, maybe just to get kind of some other things kind of bolster him up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, if he stays with Minnesota and they keep playing how they're playing, I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, and don't forget, too, I mean, he bounced around a little bit before, too. I mean, it's not like he was stellar his entire career.
No.
He was drafted in the first round by Edmonton, and he was terrible for them. I mean, granted, the team in front of him was awful. Then he went then of all places, he goes to Arizona for even more of a beating, really. Was living out of his car for a while because I mean, it's a great redemption story.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Great redemption story. But redemption story only gets you so far. And it's not going to get you into the Hall of Fame. Like I said, we now got our goaltender for the Hall of Very Good. So, yeah, and right now and I don't see it getting any better for him because Minnesota isn't going anywhere.
No.
Well, the good news about it is obviously that Utica will have some very very relevant company.
Yes, that's exactly
a very well-known company,
right?
So that's good. That's good. But you know what I'm getting off of this all a lot of bubble players, but you guys just hate defensemen.
Well,
We got one
it's
defenseman on
not
the
nothing.
Listen, it's not so
it's
much
a
that
different kind of game. You know, when
I
you
know.
picking forwards to be in the Hall of Fame is easy.
Right.
Look at how many goals this guy had. Look how many assists this
Sure,
guy had.
sure.
For defensemen, unless you're watching every team play and you're watching them and their style of, you know, the coaching style for the defense and everything, you don't. It's tough. It's tough to really pick a defenseman that's like Erik Karlsson. He's going to get into the Hall of Fame. That's obvious. But for other defensemen, it's kind of tough to kind of judge. You know,
And don't
how they're
forget-
what their basis, how they're gonna get nominated is. You know,
exactly. And don't forget, every game you have 12 forwards playing and six defensemen. So automatically your pool, so to speak, is cut in half.
yeah.
And remember what I talked about earlier with the off limits that's already been talked about. Now these guys are going to go in. Shea Weber, Brent Burns, Ryan Suter. So there's already people in line.
Yeah.
We're talking about kind of like bringing up the rear, so to speak, I guess.
Yeah.
So you're right. I mean, we were kind of tough on defensemen today,
One out of like 5 or 6.
but
Oh, you're just mad because we
you're just mad because we slammed the door on
I'm
Letang.
freaking sour. Hey, listen, before we run out of time here, I told you guys I want to have a little conversation about one thing. We got about 5 minutes. And this kind of goes, I don't even know you. I didn't even tell you guys we were going to do this, but
Ooh, surprise!
surprise. I promise it won't be hard. Last night, like I said, I was watching these videos of hockey fights and all kinds of other craziness going on. And it was totally because I got in this discussion with my friend. I have a friend. And that person was asking me about had I seen the Steelers and Cleveland Browns brawl that just happened. And of course, that's the big news. I know it's not
Right.
hockey related, but if you watch anything with football, or unless you live in a hobbit hole in the countryside somewhere, you probably have seen this. During that, Myles Garrett took his helmet in this little skirmish that they were having and swung the helmet overhead and came down on the top of Mason Rudolph on his head. And it's probably a blessing that his hand twisted when he was coming down with it.
Well, not to mention that head of hair that Mason Rudolph has. I'm sure it took a.
That is a nice.
It was like a trampoline bouncing off.
But his hand came down and it twisted, and he actually caught him with the slightly padded side of the helmet.
Yeah.
The little white band on the back. And it really got me to thinking because everybody was saying, oh, well, now the suspensions have come out. Now the fines have come out. But is there a recourse for Mason Rudolph to go after him as an assault?
Given that he started it, probably not.
Well, but it also got me thinking, how many times have we seen questionable hits in the NHL where, play is whistled dead, and then all of a sudden there's a hit? I mean, the one I was watching last night and how I got onto the Ty Domi is it was Ty Domi and I believe Niedermeyer with the Devils when he was playing. And Domi comes by and just railed him with a stick long after the whistle had blown. And I guess the whole thing I'm kind of going into is, we often overlook these incidents because we think, well, it's part of gameplay. There's two athletes and tempers are flaring on the ice and everything. But should there be something out there that says, like, this is not part of your typical gameplay, this is a criminal?
Well, I'm curious if there's, and I don't know the answer to this for sure. I'm just curious if there's something written into the standard player contract that says you can't file charges about what happens on the ice.
I
don't know.
It's guys getting steamrolled by another player, big hits and things like that. That has a part of the game. If you don't like what happened to you, you get in a fight. You both spend 5 minutes in the box. Stuff after the whistle, getting just chopped by sticks, or you're boarding a guy after a whistle. You're borderline trying
To hurt the guy.
you're trying to hurt him.
Yeah.
Like, look at everyone. You want to talk about, like, look at what McSorley did to Donald Brashear.
Yeah, absolutely.
He tried to kill him.
Right.
There's no excuse for that, and that ended McSorley's career. I don't know. I think we talk about how the game's changing, and there's less and less of that, and they get fined by Department of Player Safety, and they get suspended for a certain amount of games, and they come back and they say sorry, and they get their slap on the wrist, and they go back to playing.
Right.
Because you're fining a guy a couple $100,000 when he makes $8 million a year, you're not really hurting them.
No, you're not at all.
Well, not only that, I think it's almost a moot point because you don't really see it anymore. I mean, in this day and age, they're all hugging after the games. You know, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that it's a lot. It's a kinder, gentler world.
Yeah,
in the NHL and in pro sports in general than it was, say, 15, 20 years ago, because that was back before. Excuse me. You had big free agent contracts. Everybody was pretty much making crap money, and they were fighting for a place on that team. Mm-hmm. And it was really more. You hated that other guy across it because, there was there was none of that. Well, I can end up playing with this guy next season, so I'm not gonna,
You have more commitment to the team.
Exactly. It was more of it was a battle of survival.
Sure.
To stay on the teams and all that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I see what you're saying, but I think it's almost like it's almost. I mean, let's face it. What happened with that football game? Mm-hmm. That was. I mean, does that happen every game? No,
but that would also bring up. It doesn't happen in every hockey game, obviously, but it could happen. And when it does happen, is there anything that's being
well, and you also have to keep in mind too with professional sports, it's not necessarily up to the league who if the police step in or not. It's up to that DA in the city that they're playing in.
Yeah,
it's a
weird so you got a completely what happened in say Los Angeles could be deemed something completely different than what happened in say Dallas.
I always found it very funny though that even right now they're saying that it's a violent sport and these are violent people. Wow, how do you excuse that? I mean, what's to say? Like I walked into my job and I said, "Wow, this person's really pissing me off today. I'm gonna give them a shot in the mouth just to prove my point and get them to close it." And I walk away. I would never work there again. That would be the end of my employment.
I think that statement right there just conflates the whole issue.
It's
you're just like, okay, so they're all just violent guys. That's not true at all. Any hockey player off the ice, if you've ever had a chance, even just in Utica here, to run into one of the Comets player off the ice, they are some of the nicest guys you could ever run into.
Sure.
Hey, can I get an autograph? Dude's out to eat, and he's like, absolutely.
Yeah.
No.
No. And then he punches you in the face, pulls a stick out, and just whacks you. It happens. Stuff happens. Hockey is inherently a violent game. Yeah. You guys going 60 miles an hour down the ice, running full bore into each other. Ovechkin had a huge hit just this last week. It was a legal hit, but it was, he could have hurt the guy.
Sure.
And accidents happen. I mean, taking the dude's helmet off and hitting him with it, that's not an accident. Right. But in the NHL, a lot now, not 10, 15 years ago, but in the NHL now, any kind of injuries you see are normally because of an accidental, guy takes a bad fall into the boards after he gets hit, or you don't have guys going out trying to hurt another player.
Tempers flare.
They do.
I remember a couple of years ago with Crosby and was it PK Subban?
Yeah, when Crosby face mashed him.
Crosby was checking his head down at the ice over and over and over and over.
Now,
or when he cut that guy's finger off.
Or when he
whacked his face. But let's
that was the same season.
Yeah, it was.
You have one of the league's, arguably one of the league's biggest superstars, and he's much as I love the guy.
I think that is a problem.
That is
when the refs choose to choke on the whistle because they don't want the superstar to get in trouble.
But the thing with that one though, he was doing that to another superstar.
Yeah,
that is true.
I think the refs' discretion when it comes to a lot of things. You see a lot more very popular superstar type players getting away with a lot more than a guy like Bufflin, who makes a bad hit or cross checks a guy and he's going and having a meeting with DOPS about it.
Yeah.
And getting 3 games suspended.
Well, there's your big problem too. It's not even so much the referees; it's the Department of Player Safety.
Yeah,
Department of Player Safety is so inconsistent.
Thing is stupid to me.
All I can say is one thing: I hope it does not lead to any more video review.
Oh God,
no more. Way too much of it as it is. I don't want to. No more.
Yeah. Guys, I'm looking at the time. We got to get out of here. We're way over. But listen, I think we started an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
On that. And if anybody's out there and wants to chime in and give their 2 cents, we read all these comments later on. So, we'll definitely hear you if you want to chime in. And maybe we can even talk about that next week.
We're going to be sharing it all over Facebook, too, so even if you want to chime in on that or wherever.
Yeah, do your thing. Do your thing, Chicken Wing. Anyways, thank you guys so much for being on here today. I know we started a little bit late. I do apologize for that. And for all our viewers and listeners and all that good stuff, thank you also for listening today. We definitely appreciate that. Let's call it, right? We'll come back. We'll talk more hockey next week.
That's
do
right.
Our thing next Monday noon. You know where we are. Good stuff. So, all right. So for Rich, myself, for Yoshi, and for Scott, that's going to do it. We will talk to you next week and enjoy the games. See yous.
See ya.
So, yeah.